Since starting my channel, I've covered many topics. Many of these series include things such as inventory, questing, shopkeepers, equipment. Many of the time people message me and ask me, how can we link these together? Can we use them together? The answer is always yes, but it does require some tinkering. So I've decided to set out on a new project, a new series. Something that's grander than we've ever done before. And what we're going to do is we're going to combine all those different series we've done so far and into one project. And what we're going to be doing is recreating our own FPS RPG using these various systems. So join me now for the start of a brand new series, and welcome to FPS RPG series. Now, what do we mean by FPS RPG? There are many games out there like Destiny, Borderlands that fit this category. It is a shooter from a first-person perspective that includes RPG mechanics such as leveling up, skills, inventory, and equipment. And we'll be covering these topics and a bit more as we're going a bit more advanced level with these various topics and others. Starting things off, we'll be looking at Chapter 1, which is menus. An RPG is useless without a menu system. So before we begin starting putting in inventories, questing, maps, things of this nature, we're going to start things off with a menu system that will hold all this information together. Now, rather than just doing a simple, bland menu system that you've seen before, we're going to try something a bit different. And this time, we're going to take a page out of Destiny's book and recreate that sort of three-dimensional character on the screen that's loaded up instantly when you push the button. We're going to talk about how that's achieved and then go ahead and show you how to do it. So, to begin with, in this project, all I've brought in with me are a couple of assets that are free currently on the marketplace, and an extra one which was free, I think, in one of the monthly free items in the marketplace that Epic release. So I've got the Anim starter pack, which is mostly the one we'll be looking at and using, and then eventually we'll get round to the generic NPC Anim pack. The generic NPC one you have to pay for unless you downloaded the free offer when it was on. But you can get by without it just fine. Now, one thing I want to make sure you're aware of is that during this series, we're not going to cover things like putting in art or anything extra special to make it look like an actual FPS RPG that's ready to be published. Not going to do that. We're just talking about how we can incorporate. They've got a lot of the gameplay systems and putting them into action so you can see how they work together. So it gives you a chance to put in your own artwork, your own story, your own quests, everything like that yourself. So let's get started. As I said, Chapter 1, we're going to focus on the menu system. Again, that started. So in Destiny, when you push the menu button, it loads up instantly a whole new screen where you've got a 3D character standing in a space, and then you've got UI overlaid the top of the player character. And then you can select which menu you want to go in using the tabs at the top and various other buttons around the screen. So that's what we're going to try and recreate. So the way this works is that you have your game world. So this is what we're currently in, our game world. And what we need to do is make a separate level that's hidden but loaded all the time. So in all these games that have this sort of same feature, there's a secret hidden level that is just not visible to the player or loaded to the player at all times. So to do this, we need to make a new level and use level streaming to load it up. So let's have a look at how this works. So level streaming. If you haven't got a levels window or tab, go to window and you'll find levels. And in there you'll find the persistent level, which is what we're currently in, and it's blue, meaning that it is loaded. So what you can do is you can create a whole new level which will contain the content of the world plus another one which is going to contain the menu. So we need to make these some more levels. So I'm just going to go into my content browser and make a new folder for maps. And in here, we're going to set up our various menus and levels. So first of all, let's go add new level. And we'll call this one base level. We'll make another one for menu. Quit menu. And we'll make another one for test world, and that would do that. So we're going to create the base level and load up that first. So double click on base level and click save, and it comes up nice and black. Okay, that's all we need. The base level is going to be the persistent level, so this thing here. And now we're not going to have anything in this. It's just going to be a container that stores all the other content. So now we're going to add levels to this list. Now you've got a couple of ways of doing this. One way is through the drop down up top here, going add existing, and you can go to maps folder and add your test world. Click open, and you'll see test world appear on the levels list. We're also going to go in and add existing the menu, and there you see both. Now, which level is highlighted in blue is the one that's currently loaded up, and you can see that in the bottom of the right hand corner of our viewport it says level menu, meaning that we're in the menu. So everything we do here is affecting the menu level. To switch levels, just double click and it will switch to the different level. Okay. Little blue dots mean these are blueprint controlled level loads, meaning that they aren't loaded all the time. They are loaded as of and when they're needed in the code. So you have to manually load them. Okay. So let's get started with our test world, just putting a basic environment in the space. So I'm just going to go in here and let's put in a sky sphere in it. And a skylight. And a directional light. So you see what we're doing. I'll select all of these and place them in the center, so it's easy to work with. Now to tie your directional light to your sky sphere, click on sky sphere, and in the details panel it will say directional light actor. You can change that to the one you've imported in. Okay, so now we have light. And all I'm going to do is just put in some flooring so we can actually see what we're doing. So we go to geometry, drag in a box, set the location at 0, 0, 0, and change the size of this to 3000 by 3000 by 20. And there's our floor. Alongside of this, we're going to put in our player start. And we'll position him correctly, like so. Okay, so that's the basic setup for our level. We just want to make sure the game mode we set up as well is going to use this level as the starting level. So I'm going to go back to my content folders root, and we're going to create a new folder. I call it modes and controllers. Modes and controllers. And in here we're going to go add new blueprint class, and you'll choose game mode base. And we'll call this one main game mode. Open this up, and we want to go to the right hand side details panel, and you'll see the various default classes that are loaded up. And we want to make sure default pawn class is set to our first person character. And we're going to need to make our own player controller, so let's make our own player controller. We go blueprint class, player controller, and we'll call this one I don't know, what should we call it? Let's call it player controller. Go to main game mode, and let's actually rename that because that's exactly the same. We'll call it my player controller. There we go. So go to my the main game mode and search for where it says player controller class, and you can change that to my player controller. So now you're using your own custom controller in your own custom mode. Click compile, close this, and now we want to make sure that the game is going to load up with this game mode. So go to edit project settings, and on the left hand side you'll see maps and modes. Click on this, and you can see default game mode, and you want to change that to your new game mode. So mine was called main game mode, so we'll select that. Next, underneath that, we've got default maps. We've got editor start map and game default map. The editor start map is the map that loads up when you first of all load up this Unreal Engine 4 project files. The game default map is the first map that's loaded when the game is launched. So I'm going to change both of these to our base level. And we'll close this. Go back to your levels tab, and that's pretty much it. so we can test this out. You'll see it goes black. Now the reason why it's going black is because we haven't told it to always load up a world in particular. At the moment there's a blueprint loaded world, see the little blue dot. So that means they won't load up until we manually tell them to. So to do that, all we have to do is click on test world, right click, and you'll see change streaming method, and we'll change it to always loaded. And this is the world that's going to load up all the time. So now when I push play, you'll see the world has now loaded up. There you go. The menu hasn't loaded up. So that's what we're going to design next. So click on the menu and double click. So now we're in the menu. And you can test this out by hiding the test world. So with the eyeballs, we can hide and show the worlds. So we're going to hide test world, so we're just working in menu. So similarly, we're going to just place in a sky sphere. And I'm going to keep it this sort of sunset color. We're then going to drag in a box. And set to 0, 0, 0. And we're going to change the size of this one to something very large. We're going to go 10,000. 10,000. And then, oh, missed that at 0. There we go. And we now got this big black square. And it's black because it hasn't been lit. So you can change that by adding some lighting to it. You can either add a directional light or a skylight will also do the trick. So I'm going to add a skylight. And that'll copy the color of the sky around the environment. Now I'm going to apply a simple material to this one. I'm going to use something in the starter kit. So click on the where it says none. And I'm going to put in some ocean floor into it. Okay. And there we have our simple menu screen. Okay. In fact, let's make it a bit more subtle water. Let's make it lake water. And let's put in a directional light. So you can design your menu however you like. I'm going for this certain type of look, but you can do whatever you like. Next, I'm going to put in some fog. So some exponential height fog. And I'm going to change the color of this height fog. On the right hand side, you can see here, you've got color. I'm going to change that to be sort of that sunsetty color. Just tweak it however you like. Okay. So there is our menu. Okay. So with our world selected, let's see if I can get that color of that ocean a bit better. If I hide and get rid of the directional light, how does that look with just the skylight? Any better? Or is it too dark? Might be a bit too dark. That's fine. We can just turn down the intensity of our directional light. So currently it's 10 lux. Let's change that down to just 1. Maybe 2. 3. 3 looks like a good shout. We'll go for 3. Okay. Next we're going to do is we're going to add in our player character model into this world. So I'm going to go into my anime starter pack and let's drag in an idol here. Let's find it. Idol, rifle, hip. So I'm going to drag him in and place them into the world like this. So it'll look something like this. Oh, if I can get the camera the right height. Okay. Maybe. Something like that. Okay. Now, again, it's totally up to you how you want to do this. I mean, you may not want some water. We can obviously hide the water. You get this, actually hide the fog as well. You get this effect. Totally fine as well. You can do that. You can do put an object in the background. You can do whatever you like. Okay, but we'll do something quite like this. Okay. Okie dokie. So let's make it so we can actually go into this scene. So when we load up this menu screen, we need a camera for it to actually load up. So let's add a camera to this and place that into the world. And we'll position that using this little viewfinder here. We're going to position that where it looks like how you want it to appear when you first push that button. Okay. Bring the camera in a bit tighter. More center. Like so. Cool. Okay. So there's our camera positioned inside our world. So when we load up, we want to make sure we're using this camera. So to use the camera, we're going to need to go into the level blueprint. So go up top where it says blueprints, find where it says sub-levels, then go to edit menu. Now with this camera actor still selected, go to your level blueprint, right click and create a reference to camera actor. This is a direct reference to that particular camera. And now we need to get the player controller, because what we're going to do is tell the player controller to start looking through that camera. So get your player controller and then set view target with blend. Now it's going to require a new target, which you can plug in like so. The blend time is how long it's going to take to blend from the current camera to the new camera. And the new camera we want to go instantly. So leave it at 0 and it will go instantly to that new camera. Click compile. And you can close that. Okay, so now we've got the menu separate from the rest of the world. Like so. We want to be able to toggle one and then toggle the other one off. Because if you load up both of them at the same time, you get collision issues and all sorts of things. So we don't want that to happen. So what we need to do is tell it to load up the menu at the correct time. So let's go to our controller here and load up my player controller. So in this controller, we're going to set up the controls to load up the menu. So go to the event graph and we need to set up a controller input to work the menu. So I'm going to go to my edit project settings and then go down to the left hand side where it says input. I'm going to go where it says action mappings and expand it open and click the new plus button for add a new action mapping. Action mappings are direct inputs, meaning that you are either pushing them in or you're not pushing them in. Okay, either off or they're on. So these are useful for things that are key presses that can open or close things, turn things on and off, or things like jump or attack, things like that will go into action mappings. Things like analog sticks and triggers can go on axis mappings because they have analog values. So action mapping, new one, is going to be called open menu. Actually, we'll just call it menu. And my keyboard shortcut for this is going to be, let's do the enter key. Normally you do the escape, but I don't want to do escape whilst I'm testing it because escape cancels out your viewport test. So it's a lot easier if you just change it to enter, then switch it to escape later on. So leave it as enter and go back to your controller. Now if I right click here, I can search for that input, call it menu, and you see input, action events, menu. Click on this, and that now refers to that new input we set up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to tell the other level to load up. So we're going to go and search for stream, and we'll do load stream level. Plug that into pressed, and it's going to ask for a level name. Now you can just type it in here if you like, that's totally fine. So I'm going to type in here menu, the menu map name, so just net menu. Okay. And we'll make it visible after it's loaded, and you should block it on load as well. Click compile. So after that's completed, we now need to then be able to hide the current world level that we're in, so don't get that clashing effect. Now the problem is we can't just hide the level because there's no way of getting the level name directly. So what we need to do is set up a workaround to get the level that we're working in currently. So to do that, we're going to go back to our test world and we're going to load it up by double clicking. Go to blueprints, sub levels, and do edit test world. And you'll do this for every single level that you've got in your game. Okay, it's a bit of an ache, but that's what you got to do. So on event begin play, so as soon as this level's loaded up, we need to set a variable on our player character. So get player controller, and the return value here, we're going to then have to cast that to our particular and specific controller. So cast to my player controller. Now we've got the exact controller that we want to refer to, we need to store and get the level name on the player controller. So let's go as player controller. We're going to, first of all, apologies, you have to go back to player controller and set up a new variable. And this would be world name. And this would be a string. And that's on the player controller. So on your test world, when you get as my player controller, you can drag out and do set world name. And then from there, you need to just type in the name of the world you've got here. So this is called test world. So we can call it test world. Once you've named it, hit compile and then go back to your player controller. So now we've got the load stream level. After that, you'll see completed. You're going to drag world name out and choose get. Then you're going to right click in empty space and get streaming level. Plug in your world name into where it says package name. And that'll get the streaming level for the world you're in. We're then going to take this return value and we're going to change its visibility. So set visible, and you see set should be visible. And you want to make that false. Hit compile and let's test that out. Hit enter. And there you go. It's loaded up a new menu screen. Okay. Now, I haven't got toggling back yet. So let's add that functionality in. So still using the player controller. You're going to go back in here. And we're going to change it. So at start, when we do input action menu, we're going to get the world name out, get streaming, sorry, not drag from the pin, right click, get streaming level, there we go, then hook them up, because you need to convert it from a string to a name, and then from there we can get the is visible, is level visible. And that gives us your boolean, which you can then plug into a branch. So if it is visible, we go to load the menu. Then on false, we need to basically do the opposite of what we see here. So we need to change the visibility of the world that we want to see. So let's go in and copy all this. And we'll tick the true box. And then we're going to take it to unload the stream level. So unload stream level. And we want to type in the name menu into level name. And click compile. So now if I go play the game. So I hit enter. I go into my menu. Hit enter again. And I return back to the world. But you'll notice the camera has gone kind of broken. Now the reason why it's done that is because if you remember, we told the camera to blend to a new camera on the load of the menu, but we haven't told it to go back. So we need to tell it to go back to using the main player character. So go back to your player controller, and at the end, after unload stream level, you're going to get the player controller, get the player character. Then from the player controller, you're going to drag out and do set view target with blend, which is the same node we used earlier. And the new target is going to be the player character. Leave blend time at 0, that way it goes instantly to that camera. So now I'll go and push play, hit enter, and loads up the menu. Hit enter again, and I go back to the world. And because it's changing the visibility of the world is still doing stuff in the background. You just need to tell it to show and hide. Now, you can see the last thing we need to fix is this problem that we've got in the background, where you can see the player character still moving around as we can control them still. So what we need to do here is tell the character to not be able to move or be seen whilst the menu is being loaded up. So the simplest way of doing that is going to your player controller, and after we do set view target with blend, after we change the visibility of the stream level, we're going to get the player character, which I can get from here, set visibility, or set actor hidden again, that might be easier, and make that true. We're then going to do the opposite on this side of it as well. So down here, set hidden in game, set to false. Then we also want to make sure we can't control it. So we need to disable input on the player character. So drag out from here again, disable input, or disable movement, either one you want, but I'm going to disable input. And player controller here, we will do get player controller. And then down here, we need to do enable input. So drag out from here again, enable input, plug in your player controller. So at the end, it's doing the player character and just changing the hidden in game and the disable input. And then at the bottom, it's doing actor hidden game is false and enabling the input back again. So hit compile again. Let's test that out. And you can see that I can no longer move around or change my position in the menu. And there you have it. So hopefully you've enjoyed this brief look at the FPSRPG series. This is an extended episode just to introduce you to the idea of what we can see in this game, and hopefully something you look forward to doing in this project. If you like what I do and you want to support me, head over to patreon.com/Ryan Daly, where a donation of just $1 will get access to many other videos, plus the next episode in this very series. Thank you to all of my supporters and all of my subscribers so far. This wouldn't be possible without any of you, so thank you again so much. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. I release videos every week and live stream every weekend too. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.